I was out fishing with my dad in the morning. We were out chasing a bit of feed of Tailor. Initially I was out there flicking around a plug and then some metals, but I had trebles on the metals and I kept on getting hooked up with the weed. So I swapped over to one of my good stick baits. I was using my old man's rod. He went off for a swim and I nicked it pretty much. He's got a 6 to 8 kilo Shimano Mac. It's actually a really good rod. It's a 9-foot rod and still has a lot of flex in it, so you can get some good casting distance. I was using the old trusty 3000 Yaski. It wasn't ideal conditions with the wind and seaweed, and we'd been out here probably about 45 minutes to an hour. Always good to finally get that hook up, particularly on the surface. With the Sid stick I've made a few changes. I've taken off both trebles and put on one single. So a single 3/0 hook at the back, so it's quite big for the lure. I'll use this type of lure when it's in weedy conditions. Basically you don't have two trebles getting constantly hooked up with weed. The other thing to consider is that when you've hooked up a fish, you don't have another treble that's picking up weed or likely to foul up something while you're pulling it in, because that one hook is in the fish's mouth and then it's just pulling that lure through the water.
Oh, good one.
In conditions like this, you could also just use surface lures, so your plugs or your poppers or your floating stick baits. I'll try out the zip bait a little bit later.
Persistence, that's it.
Just talking to my old man, we've been here for a while and finally getting onto the fish. After things went quiet with the Sid stick, I changed over to the zip bait SSM classic lure that I always use. I've just changed the lure, so I always check the drag. And then it's a slow to medium retrieve. Just over the surface, don't need to rip it in too fast. Always away first cast after changing lure. Get over the weed. As mentioned before, the zip bait, I've still got the two trebles on, and that's the best way that this lure works as well. If you put one single on, it doesn't swim right. So I'm constantly picking off the weed in little bits that it picks up, even just running over the surface because it's all churned up with little bits. Having said that, you can still fish it, but you're probably only going to get hooked up in the first half of your retrieve. Kept the fish for a cook up with my old man. It was a slow day, we're having a few beers watching the rugby, so we just wanted something simple. dusted the fillets in flour, salt, pepper and garlic powder. Found some thickened cream and put it with a couple of spoons of whole grain mustard. Chucked in some olive oil, butter, flicked some water into it to make sure it's hot. With the fish I went 60 one side, 90 the other. I then found some sourdough bread, buttered it up and put on that cream and mustard mix. It was an awesome little treat to have right in the fridge. Good little freestyle feed. Pretty good with a few beers too. For more Tailor and Perth Metro videos, please subscribe. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments section.